you get that drive, you just second guess your volley because that ball is moving a little bit. It's kind of a little bit of a knuckleball, and so you tend to second guess that volley. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out today.
We'll have Greg Dow serving to start us off.
So interesting just watching Tardio and Johns play together. I mean, Tardio is such an aggressive right side player. They're both hugging the middle. I mean, they're still working through who's taking these middle balls. See ya.
Yeah, that is, Greg Dow says bye. He's awake. I mean, they've already played one match to reach the round of 32.
And that really is an advantage, especially, you know, getting used to the conditions. The ball is a bit crisp this morning. It's slightly chilly, more than it was yesterday. So that first match could really be a benefit for Dow and Scarpa. Scarpa will look for that flick as much as possible. He's also, got nice length and is very comfortable pulling from the backhand side. Reaches it very well. That one just catches the tape.
Pretty angled put away there from Johns. Just makes it look effortless. He's hitting that ball with plenty of pace, just a combination of the pace and the angle.
Yeah, and it's interesting because his grip on overheads is not the typical tennis continental grip. So having more of a forehand heavy grip on the overhead, he can hit the inside of the ball as a righty, which actually pushes it with reverse spin. So it really gives people trouble.
Scarpa catches Tardio. I mean, let's say 9 times out of 10 when Tardio's sliding to the right to counter that, he's going to make that. But nice find from Scarpa.
Yeah, that is a dangerous spot to go on Tardio, obviously. He's probably got the best backhand counter in the game, even a little bit better than Dow's.
Right.
But yeah, Tardio's going to be on that quickly, so that's probably a one and done for Scarpa there.
Right.
Ooh, a second backhand flip. Just catches the tape from Scarpa. Looking to be aggressive, though. I like it. I mean, if you're playing against a team like Johns and Tardio, that is the way to play. Play confident, play aggressive. If you miss doing the right thing, it's okay. You just don't want to be tentative and not playing the way you want to.
It's kind of that idea of imposing your will on the match, regardless of whether or not you win or lose. You can't just play reactive.
Exactly. So much easier said than done. But, from the tennis days, my dad and coaches would always tell me, it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the court. I'm like, but it does. So whoever can kind of conquer that mentally.
Neither team able to get off of zero. It's been 3 or 4 side outs. You've heard the scoreline 0-0-2 called 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, we're seeing a decent amount of pop-ups from both sides. Like I said earlier, the ball a little bit harder, a little chilly this morning, so players just kind of adjusting.
Bit of a weird way for that point to finish.
And I think Scarpa was surprised that he did have a legitimate shot at that forehand after Tardio had really a high put-away opportunity. I'd say this early stalemate is in favor of Johns and Tardio just because it's given them several, or at least a handful of points to get warmed up versus, getting down a quick 5-0 if Dow and Scarpa came in hot. So as they warm up, they get better and better.
100%.
We'll get better throughout the day. So Scarpa and Dow really need to put some points on the board early here if they don't have a chance.
Talk about heating up. Gabe Tardio right there through the middle.
Yeah, Ben John says beauty. Almost an Aussie accent there. A bloody beauty.
We'll keep you updated on the Aussie accent from Ben Johns as
Scarpa said enough as well.
You see there, you talked about it earlier, Thomas, just kind of the not being super confident on who's taking that middle ball. Ben probably could have taken that with the forehand. The Tardio steps in, takes the backhand, doesn't pay off. There's that singles from Greg Dow.
Streaky singles, man.
Yeah, of course. I remember I called his singles match against Ben Johnson, Virginia Beach, and they started playing skinny singles in the second game.
He would. That was one of the goofiest guys on tour. Absolutely hilarious.
It's great to have him out. Always a fun time. Great commentator as well.
Yes, he is. What did I say earlier? One and done.
One and done, yeah.
There's the second one, and points up.
Yeah, just the way, it's not only the slide, it's also the way that he just maneuvers his paddle to be able for it to make solid contact with the ball spinning that quickly.
Yeah, it's interesting. Gabe holds the paddle real high on the grip. He chokes up a lot more than other players. Not quite as much as Callan Dawson or Rob Cassidy, but you know what that helps is you can more easily manipulate the paddle head, whereas a lot of players hold it down low like I do. You just can't move the paddle head as quickly, so that is a benefit of choking up, especially when you're at the kitchen line. You notice players like Pickleball or Federico Staxford who actually have their pointer finger up almost like a ping pong paddle, and again, I believe that does help just control the paddle head, something that I've experimented with myself. Beautiful backhand angle from Ben Johns.
That's not a shot that he's always had. He almost used to only hit exclusively one-handed slice things, but in the latter half of 2024, he's really developed that chewy into a weapon in the kitchen.
Yeah, and really it's credit to James Ekanovich. I think Ben literally tried to copy James Ekanovich's two-handed backhanding because it's so good, so consistent, a lot more aggressive. If, getting that one-handed slice or one-handed roll, you just can't think quite as much on it. So something that Ben has really improved on. He uses it a lot now.
Wow, I mean, that is just speechless after that.
I mean, the difficulty of that shot, Ben makes it look so easy. But Scarpa was sold on a body shot or middle, and Ben takes pace off and hits it on the outside. Unbelievable control. I like the move from Tardio there, but Greg Dow's a big body, as we talked earlier. That backhand counter is his favorite shot, so just the wrong spot there. Notice too there, Tardio was early on that counter. When you attack Tardio, he is so quick and typically expects a lot of pace on these attacks. So the only chance you have against a guy like Tardio is switching up the speed on your attacks. So if you can disguise that well, you have a chance at least to throw him off. I'm not going to say you are, but like that forehand there, Dow just took a little bit off and Tardio just ahead of it.
It's almost like he wants you to come in with all that pace.
You see Tardio jumping in front of Ben Johns. How dare he? I don't think anyone's ever done that in the history of Ben Johns' career. Ben says to Tardio, I got it. Next time.
Working out the kinks in their second tournament together. Excited for what this partnership could potentially be throughout the rest of the 2025.
Tardio did say my bad, so I think they quickly agreed that that is Ben's ball.
That's very pretty there from Scarpa. Speaking of someone who has a bit of an interesting grip as well, doesn't really have any wrist manipulation. He just keeps his wrist very firm. So it looks like he's just making contact with the ball in a weird way sometimes.
because that would break my wrist.
Right.
Some people call Scarpa Captain America, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
The Captain America wrist, I don't know.
It's on the forearm.
All I know is I don't have it.
Big time. Number 9. Damage in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the numbers, that's a lot of grind.
So far this match really just been methodical for Ben Johns and Gabe Tardio, nothing special.
As Greg Dow called for a service warning for ref saying they just tossed it up instead of knocking it. One for 3 now. That speed up at Tardio.
And again, that speed up, it's the same pace. So the 3 speed up Scarpa has done at Tardio is the same exact pace. You have to switch it up more consistently if you're going to try to throw Tardio off, especially if you're going at the body where he can hit that backhand counter.
And very pretty. Tardio maybe jumped the gun on that one. It was such a good drop from Ben. You kind of expect it to be handled with difficulty.
Scarpa just sets his paddle so early, holds it, and then just kind of punches it, so he's not even hitting a stroke on it, which makes it even more difficult to read. So he held it till the last second and punched it, where Tardio was not.
Right. 8-1 now for the number 2 seeds. Whew. Scarpa takes it in stride. But they haven't used their timeout yet. A little bit surprising, trailing 1-8, but they've got a chance to close the gap here.
That was a nice aggressive dink from Tardio. It really wasn't that high, but just the length of Dow reaches in and pokes it. Look at the wheels on the mammoth over there, Greg Dow.
Like to see Dow pull the trigger on that one. It's a little low, but still went for it and eventually pays off.
Yeah, similar to Scarpa, he also has such a short stroke on that forehand side. Attacks really well, so I agree. I mean, if it's there at all, you got to go for it. If you're down 8-3, haven't really found any momentum, you're going to find it by at least having an aggressive mindset instead of playing passive or even neutral. And really, I expect a little bit more fire from Dow and Scarpa, but really, they just haven't had anything to work with.
Right.
I mean, they're a team that feeds off of high energy, they get amped up, but they're just kind of quiet over there. Just being silenced by the great Ben Johns.
And that's the second time that we've seen an error on the 4th ball as Scarpa and Dow have been trying to unwind the stack. It seems to be a little bit of communication over whether Scarpa should be the one to step over and take it as Dow is running over to the other side. So we'll see if Johns continues to go for those drives as they're unwinding.
Again, nice pull from Dow. It wasn't that high again, but he's reaching in so well. Taking the ball, around his thigh and just hitting a perfect spot on Ben Johns, forcing the put away.
And another instance of miscommunication there. A little frustration from Dow and Scarpa, rightfully so. Woo. Dow came with the heat.
He did. The high heat.
High heat. But Johns just, I don't even think he moved in between those 2 shots. I think he just hit 2 backhand counters in 2 different positions.
Too easy. Yeah, I think that's probably the second backhand drop that Ben has missed in 2025. But But again, we do have some swirly wind, and yesterday in mixed doubles, the teams who were driving the ball more often and crashing were the teams who won. I mean, Eric Onsens and Alex Truong made a run all the way to the semis unexpectedly, and Eric Onsens just playing so aggressive, driving almost every ball, and look how it turned out inside hazy. So thankfully that's cleared a decent amount overnight. Really nice conditions, and yeah, roughly 10 mile per hour wind, but it's swirly and gusty, so it's not consistent necessarily. So that's really just the minor challenge we're dealing with.
And the number 2 seeds close out game 1 at the first time of asking 11-3 over Greg Dow and Anderson Zand. We'll see if Anderson Scarpa and Greg Dow have something to say about potentially forcing a game 3.
Yeah, they are on the better side now, at least yesterday's conditions. The team on the closer side here, the near side, won more often. That's just due to being into the wind. You can play more aggressive, more balls falling. On the other side, balls are just spraying a little bit, but I honestly don't think that was as big of a factor today. I didn't see a whole lot of balls fly long from Scarpa and Dow, but they are into the wind a bit, so they just really need to get together here, just come out with high energy, play aggressive, play their games, because they are capable.
They won't complain about a missed return from Gabe Tardio against them on the board first.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of a knuckleball there, and Scarpa just kind of lost it, second-guessed it. Really, and I don't know if it's a confidence thing, but that's the third or fourth kind of simple backhand punch that he's missed in the net, which you typically don't see from him. So I don't know if it's a conditions thing or he's just second-guessing whether he should pull off that backhand punch or not. Wow.
Just the 1-2.
And that's so tough. I mean, Gabe is sliding into the middle of the court. Scarpa expects it to come to his forehand, but Gabe goes inside out back to the backhand side. Such a nice redirect. So hard to do in real time in a hand battle like that. Yeah, I'd say a dead dink to Tardio's forehand is not the play. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. And it was just difficult because the wind really picked up right in the middle of that rally. It kind of forced Scarpa to get out of that cross court with Ben Johns. That's what this team does, though, because it's kind of a lose-lose. Either you have to dink cross court with Ben, or you've got to send one up to Tardio, who's most likely going to speed it up off the bounce right at you.
I mean, let's be honest, there really aren't any great options.
Right. Yeah.
But, I mean, again, I think that's 1 for 4, maybe 1 for 5 that Scarpa's won on attacking Gabe Tardio's body. And it's interesting, the higher you get on Gabe, the more he bends that wrist and does such a good job of getting down on the ball. So if you attack a guy like Gabe specifically, who's tall as well, you really want to keep it low because that wrist manipulation he has, the ball's coming at your feet versus attacking, his hip area. You have a better chance of that ball coming straight back at you to hit it.
It is just fast and furious here in game 2, 5-1 in favor of Johns and Tardio. Really the complete opposite of what we saw in the beginning of last game when there was both teams kind of were slow to get into things.
Whoa.
That shot was so good that Greg Dow didn't even think that there was a shot he made.
He froze after he made that because he was so shocked. Ben Johns laughing on the other side of the court. Everyone came to Austin about 2 years ago, and now players like Hayden Patrickman are living there. Dylan Frazier moved there. Everybody is headed to Florida.
As Tardio somehow finds that up the line, keeps it in. It's a tough situation, especially already trailing, but having to unwind the stack as well, which Dow and Scarpa seem committed to trying to do.
Ooh, I like that pull though there from Scarpa. Tardio was sliding, but Scarpa did such a nice job of hitting on the outside side of that ball and it was angling to Gabe's right hip. That's really one of the best options against a guy like Gabe. Tardio left that one up. Scarpa just counters that really right into Ben John's paddle. Right, unfortunate placement. Something to keep in mind too. Wind is kind of gusty like this. We've seen several errors from the players when they're hitting dinks out of the air because that ball is a little swirly. If it's not there to clearly attack, I think it's smarter to let that ball bounce. That way you can have a little bit more footwork in your shot, because if that ball moves last second in the air, it's harder to make clean contact versus letting the ball bounce. And we've seen, you know, I think 5 errors from Scarpa's just kind of simple poke backhand because the ball isn't quite where he expects it to be.
Yeah, that one. Second you see it go that high to any shot at Ben Johns, but especially the backhand, you know, it's over. Yep. And missed return there from Scarpa brings up match point 10.
All you have left, if you have, is that free challenge. They shorten it to 45 seconds. That way, it's not a true full second timeout.
And that is going to do it. Ben Johns, Gabe Tardio start their Texas campaign off with an 11-3, 11-1 victory over Greg Dow and Anderson Scarpa. Thomas, you said maybe they may be asleep coming into their first match of the day. I don't think we saw that. Maybe the first few side outs, but after that it was smooth sailing.
Yeah, I think they needed 4 or 5 points of side outs.